The breaking point. Ambassador Elena Reyes stood at the observation window of the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, watching the swirling nebula that served as the backdrop for the massive station. 217 species represented here, and humanity was still treated like the newcomer, even after 60 years of membership. The Arcosian representative floated past, its gelatinous body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed mild disdain. Elena managed a diplomatic nod. The tension in the chamber was palpable. Everyone knew why an emergency session had been called. 3 days ago, the human colony of New Horizon had been attacked. 2,000 civilians dead. The evidence pointed to the Krell Imperium, a founding member of the Council and one of its most influential voices. Ambassador Reyes called a melodic voice. Elena turned to see Thelurix, the avian representative of the Nexus Confederation, humanity's only true ally in this political quagmire. The session is about to begin. Are you prepared? As prepared as one can be when seeking justice from those who deny it exists. Elena replied, straightening her formal blue uniform adorned with the insignia of United Earth. The massive chamber hummed as representatives took their positions. At the center dais, the Council's High Arbiter, an ancient Murathian with silvery skin that reflected the star charts projected around the room, raised its 6-fingered hands for silence. This emergency session will address the incident at the human colony designated New Horizon. The Arbiter announced, its voice translated simultaneously into the 200 languages of the assembled delegates. Ambassador Reyes of United Earth will present evidence, followed by a response from Archon Savik of the Krell Imperium. Elena stepped forward, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, she began. 3 days ago, the peaceful research colony of New Horizon was attacked without provocation. 2,000 lives were extinguished. Our investigation has recovered weapon signatures, ship identification markers, and communication fragments that all point to Krell warships. She gestured and holographic evidence materialized above the chamber floor. Debris analysis, energy signatures, fragmented transmissions in Krell military code. This was not an isolated incident, Elena continued, her voice growing steel-edge. In the past decade, 6 human outposts have suffered accidents or pirate attacks with Krell fingerprints just beneath the surface. Each time, we have brought evidence. Each time, this council has delayed, debated, and ultimately dismissed our concerns. Archon Savik, the imposing reptilian representative of the Krell, rose from his position. Nearly 3 meters tall with armored scales that gleamed like polished obsidian, he exuded ancient power. Once again, humans mistake correlation for causation. Savik's voice rumbled through the chamber. These so-called signatures are easily fabricated. Perhaps your colony suffered an unfortunate reactor malfunction. Perhaps rival human factions seek to blame the Krell for their own internal conflicts. The Imperium categorically denies any involvement. Elena's hand tightened around her davad. The same denial, the same dismissal, the same thinly veiled contempt. We request an independent investigation team with council oversight, Elena stated. Our people demand justice. The Arbiter's expression remained unreadable. The council will consider this request and vote. Consider. The word escaped Elena's lips before she could catch it. The chamber fell silent at the interruption. For 60 years, humanity has abided by every council regulation. We dismantled our warships. We shared our medical breakthroughs. We accepted refugees from the Cygnus conflict. We showed good faith. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs of dozens of species. And in return, our colonies burn while this council considers our evidence. Ambassador Reyes, the Arbiter warned, decorum must be maintained. A chime sounded on Elena's wrist device. She glanced down and her face went perfectly still. The message was simple. New Eden colony under attack. Confirmed Krell signatures. Casualties mounting. Something changed in Elena's posture. The other human diplomats noticed it immediately, straightening in anticipation. "There will be no more consideration," Elena said, her voice now cold and precise. She removed her formal council pin and placed it on the speaking podium. "As the authorized representative of United Earth and all human colonies, I hereby formally announce our withdrawal from the Galactic Council and the revocation of our peace doctrine, effective immediately." Gasps and murmurs erupted throughout the chamber. The arbiter's silvery skin darkened with concern. "Ambassador, this is highly irregular. What does this mean?" demanded Savick, true worry showing for the first time. Elena looked directly at the Krell Archon. "It means exactly what you fear it means." The humans in the delegation moved in unison, turning their backs on the council and walking toward the exit. Elena was the last to turn away. As they reached the door, alarms began to sound throughout the council chamber. On every screen, emergency notifications flashed. The ancient Kulorian observer, a being rarely seen at regular proceedings, had triggered the highest security alert. The wizened Kulorian's voice crackled over the confusion. "Alert all worlds. The apex predators have renounced peace." As their diplomatic vessel departed the station, Elena gazed at the stars. Her aide approached cautiously. "Ambassador, confirmation from Earth Command. Operation Lazarus is commencing." Elena nodded. "For 60 years, we buried our true nature to gain acceptance. We thought peace was possible." Her eyes hardened. "Now the galaxy will remember why our ancestors conquered Earth, and why the stars will be no different." Beneath the surface of Earth's moon, massive steel doors that hadn't opened in 6 decades began to part. Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura stood before them, watching as ancient systems recognized his command codes. "Authorization accepted," announced a calm computer voice. "Welcome, Admiral Nakamura." The doors slid open, revealing a vast underground complex. As Hiroshi stepped forward, lights activated in sequence, illuminating what the Galactic Council had never been allowed to see: warships. Hundreds of them, suspended in massive docks. Not the simple defensive vessels that patrolled Earth space, but true weapons of war. Sleek destroyers with railgun arrays, massive carriers designed to launch fighter swarms, heavy battleships with planet-cracking potential. "They're magnificent," whispered Captain Santos, Hiroshi's second-in-command. Hiroshi nodded as he walked toward the Central Command Center. "When we joined the Council, we agreed to seal away our military might as a show of good faith, but we never dismantled it." The command center hummed to life as Hiroshi placed his palm on the main console. Screens lit up around him, showing similar facilities activating across the solar system. Hidden shipyards on Mars, weapon caches in the asteroid belt, research labs in the moons of Jupiter. "How long until we're combat ready?" asked Santos. Hiroshi studied the readiness reports. "The automated maintenance systems have kept everything in perfect condition. First Fleet can deploy in 24 hours. On a nearby screen, a news broadcast showed Elena Reyes returning to Earth. Her face was solemn as she addressed the assembled media. "Is it true?" one reporter called out. "Has Earth withdrawn from the Galactic Council?" Elena looked directly into the camera. "For 60 years, we tried to be the conscience of the galaxy. Now we will be its reckoning." In another section of the lunar base, General Fiona Clark accessed a room that only 5 humans in the galaxy had authorization to enter. Inside were detailed files on every council species, their military capabilities, defense systems, biological weaknesses, and strategic vulnerabilities. "Begin distribution of the tactical packages," she ordered her staff. "Every ship captain needs to know exactly what they're facing." Back in the main chamber, Admiral Nakamura accessed a secure terminal marked Piro Miti EUS. "Computer, this is Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura, Earth Defense Force. Authorization code, Alpha 9 Omega Horizon. Activate Project Prometheus." "Warning," responded the computer. "Project Prometheus violates 27 Galactic Council peace treaties. Confirm activation." Hiroshi took a deep breath. Confirmed. Throughout the lunar base, specialized manufacturing units began to produce weapons designed specifically to target each alien species' unique vulnerabilities, weapons that humans had theorized but never built until now. Above Earth, the Council observation post watched with growing alarm as human vessels began changing their configurations. Defensive shields were replaced with weapon mounts. Communication arrays transformed into targeting systems. The humans are arming every vessel they have, reported the Marin observer to the Council. Even their civilian ships are being retrofitted for combat roles. In the Council chamber, the ancient Quilorian addressed the panicked representatives. You fools. Did you think they survived their bloody history by chance? Humans come from a death world where everything evolved to kill. They chose peace when they joined us. Now they are choosing to be what they always were, the most dangerous predators their world ever produced. The Krell homeworld, Vastus Prime, gleamed with celebration lights. Across the planet, the scaled inhabitants gathered in great crowds to watch public broadcasts of their military parades. Archon Savik addressed the masses from a towering platform in the capital city. The humans have been reminded of their place in the Galactic Order, Savik declared. Their complaints to the Council have fallen on deaf ears, as we knew they would. The crowds roared their approval. Few noticed the strange flickers in the night sky above them. Commander Maya Chen and her team of 16 operatives moved silently through the orbital defense network, their ships barely larger than escape pods, matching the energy signature of space debris. Each human wore a specialized stealth suit, rendering them nearly invisible. Team Alpha in position at primary defense hub, whispered Lieutenant Koda over the secure comm. Team Beta ready at planetary shield generator, confirmed Sergeant Wilson. Maya checked her tactical display. All infiltration points showed green. Her team had spent years studying Krell security systems, preparing for this moment. Remember, no casualties, Maya reminded her team. We're sending a message, not starting a slaughter. With precise coordination, the humans placed small devices at critical junction points throughout the defense network. Each device contained technology the Krell couldn't detect, the result of human research kept hidden from the Council. In the command center for Krell Planetary Defense, a junior officer noticed a small anomaly. Sir, I'm detecting a minor fluctuation in Sector 7. His superior dismissed the concern. Probably solar interference. The humans have made the Council nervous with their dramatic exit, but they're harmless. They've been peaceful for so long, they've forgotten how to fight. On Maya's signal, the devices activated. Critical systems began to shut down in careful sequence. Shield generators powered down, weapon platforms went offline. Communication arrays fell silent. In seconds, the most heavily defended planet in the Krell Imperium was completely exposed. Panic erupted in the command center as screens went dark. What's happening? Get the backup systems online. But the backup systems were already compromised. Emergency protocols activated only to shut down more systems. Archon Savik was in mid-speech when the massive screens behind him flickered and changed. The Krell symbol disappeared, replaced by the image of a human face. Commander Maya Chen. People of Vastus Prime, Maya said calmly, her voice echoing across every communication channel on the planet. You should have let us remain peaceful. The celebration fell silent as the truth dawned on the Krell. Their entire planetary defense system, the pride of their military, had been disabled without a single shot fired. Your attacks on our colonies killed thousands of civilians, Maya continued. We could have killed millions in retaliation. Instead, we chose to show you your vulnerability. From orbit, Maya watched as lights flickered across the planet's surface as power grids faltered. Your defenses will remain offline for 48 hours, she explained. During this time, you will be completely vulnerable. Remember this feeling. Remember that humans chose to show mercy today, even when you showed none. The human team departed as silently as they had arrived, leaving the Krell homeworld in chaos. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session as reports came in of human fleets moving with new purpose through space. This was just a demonstration, warned the Nexus representative, the only Council species still allied with humanity. The humans disabled the entire defense network of a major military power without firing a shot or causing a single casualty. Imagine what they could do if they actually wanted destruction. Admiral Nakamura addressed the people of Earth as news of the successful operation reached Sol. "We tried peace for 60 years. Now we'll show them why our ancestors conquered our world. The galaxy will learn that humanity's restraint was not weakness, it was mercy." The reckoning. The Grand Council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from 200 species shouted over each other, their translators struggling to keep pace with the flood of angry words. Some pounded appendages on desks, while others floated anxiously above their seats. "The humans must be contained immediately," demanded Archon Savik, his scales flushed dark with humiliation. "They violated our sovereignty." "After you destroyed their colonies and killed their people," countered Thelorix, the Nexus Confederation representative. The avian being stood tall despite being among the smallest in the chamber. "Humans showed remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed your world." The High Arbiter slammed its ceremonial staff against the floor 7 times, the traditional call for order. Gradually, the noise subsided. "We face an unprecedented situation," the Arbiter announced. "For the first time in Council history, a member species has formally withdrawn from our alliance and demonstrated military capabilities far beyond what they disclosed." Near the back of the chamber, the ancient Quilorian observer moved forward. The other delegates parted respectfully. Quilorians rarely spoke at council meetings, and when they did, all listened. The being's translucent body glowed with internal light as it approached the central platform. "There is something you should know," the Quilorian began, its voice like crystals chiming. "When humans first contacted the galaxy, they were classified as Deathworld apex predators. This classification was deliberately hidden to avoid widespread panic." Shocked murmurs spread across the chamber. "What does this mean?" asked a representative from the methane-breathing Orolani collective. The Quilorian gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed Earth, blue oceans, green and brown landmasses, swirling white clouds. "Humans evolved on a world that should have killed them," explained the Quilorian. "High gravity, extreme weather, deadly radiation from their sun, thousands of venomous creatures, and endless wars among themselves. Those who survive such conditions develop differently." The display changed to show historical images of human conflicts, ancient armies with primitive weapons, then modern soldiers, then space marines in powered armor. "We accepted them into the council because they chose peace," continued the Quilorian. "But make no mistake, they held back their true capabilities." Dr. Xian, the council's chief xenopsychologist, stepped forward. The 6-limbed researcher gestured with her primary arms. "I have reviewed human historical records," Qian clicked. "Their wars were not like our ceremonial conflicts or resource disputes. They fought until one side was completely defeated. They adapted constantly. Each war made their weapons more deadly, their strategies more ruthless." Thelorix nodded gravely. "I tried to warn many of you. Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other. When they weren't fighting, they were preparing for the next war. Their peace was a choice, not their nature." The council chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. "What have we awakened?" whispered the representative from the gas-giant worlds of the Hellion Concord. On a large screen, footage showed human vessels changing configuration throughout council space. Ships once designed for trade and exploration now bristled with weapons. The footage then showed the precise military operation that had disabled the Krell defenses, 16 humans neutralizing an entire planet's defense grid without casualties. "They've been studying us," realized the Orolani representative, her methane sacs pulsing with agitation. "All this time we thought they were just being diplomatic. They were assessing our weaknesses. The Council split into factions. Some insisted on immediate military action against Earth. Others advocated for appeasement, offering concessions to bring humans back into the fold. A few suggested complete isolation of human space. The High Arbiter called for a formal vote. We must decide our response to the human situation. After heated debate, the Council voted 134 to 83 to launch a preemptive strike against Earth. As the session ended, the ancient Quilorian approached Thelorix. "You know them best," the Quilorian said softly. "Will they destroy us?" The avian representative looked up at the glowing being. "Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. They just wanted to be left in peace. Now they'll settle for being respected or feared." The massive alien armada appeared at the edge of the Sol system, emerging from faster-than-light travel in a brilliant cascade of energy. Over 400 warships from 30 different Council species formed a battle line that stretched across space. Their hulls gleamed in the distant sunlight, weapon ports open and shields humming with power. Admiral Nakamura watched the tactical display aboard the human flagship Prometheus. His face remained calm, but his eyes tracked every enemy vessel with predatory focus. "They brought everything they had," observed Captain Santos beside him. "Nearly half of the Council's combined military strength." Nakamura nodded. "Just as we predicted." He opened a channel to the assembled human fleet. "All vessels, this is Admiral Nakamura. Operation Thermopylae is now active. Assume defensive formation Delta and prepare planetary shield grid." Across the solar system, hidden defense platforms that had remained dormant for 60 years came online. A web of energy began to form around Earth and its colonies, technology far beyond what the Council believed humans possessed. The alien commander, a Mu-Rathian named Vorith, sent a message across open channels. "Attention human forces. By order of the Galactic Council, you are commanded to stand down and surrender your military capabilities. Refuse, and we will be forced to take action." Nakamura allowed himself a small smile. "Open a channel to the Mu-Rathian flagship." When the connection was established, he spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura of Earth Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human space with hostile intent. You will power down your weapons and withdraw, or you will learn why we were feared long before we joined your council." On the Mu-Rathian flagship, Admiral Vorith turned to his tactical officer. "They're bluffing. Their fleet is 1/3 our size." The tactical officer, a veteran of many campaigns, looked uncertain. "Sir, their formation is unusual. Their positioning suggests they want us to attack certain vectors." "It's desperation," Vorith declared. "All ships, advance and engage. Target their largest vessels first." The Council Armada moved forward in standard attack formation, spreading into a wide arc to envelop the human defenders. Their first volley of energy weapons and missile swarms launched toward Earth's fleet. Nakamura's voice remained steady as he gave his order. "All ships, execute Leonidas maneuver." What happened next shocked the Council forces. The human ships moved in ways that defied conventional space tactics. They deliberately opened gaps in their formation, then closed them just as enemy fire passed through. Ships rotated and accelerated at speeds that would have killed most species, their crews clearly adapted to withstand key forces that would incapacitate other beings. "Impossible," whispered the Mu-Rathian tactical officer. No organic species could survive those maneuvers. The human counterattack was devastating. Their weapons weren't just powerful, they were specifically calibrated to exploit the weaknesses of each alien vessel. Shields tuned to stop energy weapons were bypassed by specialized kinetic rounds. Armor designed to deflect physical impacts was melted by focused particle beams. "They're targeting our specific weaknesses," reported a panicked officer aboard the Krell support cruiser. "How do they know the resonance frequency of our shield generators?" In the command center beneath the lunar surface, General Clark monitored the battle. "Tactical package Omega-7 is working perfectly," she reported to Earth Command. The Council forces are responding exactly as our simulations predicted. Back on the Prometheus, Nakamura watched as the first wave of Council ships broke formation. "Launch fighter squadrons," he ordered. "Target their command and control systems only." Human fighter craft swarmed from carrier ships. Unlike the bulky fighters of other species, human craft were small, fast, and piloted by individuals who had trained specifically to counter alien tactics. They slipped through defensive fire with maneuvers that seemed suicidal, but proved devastatingly effective. Within hours, the Council's Grand Armada was in disarray. 1/3 of their ships had been disabled, not destroyed, but incapacitated with pinpoint strikes to propulsion and weapon systems. The rest were attempting to regroup, but human forces continued to separate and isolate them. On the Murathian flagship, now venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches, Admiral Voreth stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How? They were peaceful researchers and traders. His tactical officer, bleeding from a head wound, laughed bitterly. "No, sir. They were wolves in sheep's clothing, and we just reminded them what they really are." Nakamura opened a channel to all Council vessels. "This is Admiral Nakamura. Your fleet has been neutralized with minimal loss of life. We could have destroyed every ship in your armada, but instead, we chose restraint. Again." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Humanity does not seek galactic dominion. We sought only respect and the right to exist without fear. You have 24 hours to withdraw your remaining vessels from our space. After that, any military ship within 3 light years of a human world will be considered hostile and destroyed without warning." 3 days later, the Galactic Council reconvened in emergency session. The chamber was subdued, many seats empty as representatives struggled to reach the Council station after the disruption of normal travel routes. The High Arbiter looked aged, its silvery skin dulled with stress. "The vote before us is whether to accept the human terms for a new relationship with the galactic community." The terms were displayed above the chamber. Recognition of all human territories as sovereign and inviolable. Reparations for the colonies destroyed by Krull forces. A non-aggression pact between all Council species and humanity. Equal trade rights without punitive tariffs. The right of humanity to maintain its military forces without oversight. "They're not asking to rule us," noted Thelorix. "They're asking to be left alone, but as equals, not subordinates." Arkshan Savik, his once proud bearing now humbled, rose slowly. "The Krell Imperium accepts these terms. We acknowledge our role in provoking this conflict and will pay the required reparations." One by one, the representatives voted. The final tally was overwhelming. 189 to 28 in favor of accepting the human terms. As the session concluded, the Krulorian observer approached the central platform. Let this be remembered as the day the galaxy learned an important truth. Peace is not the natural state of the universe. For some species, peace is a choice, and we would do well to honor those who choose it, despite their capacity for war. On Earth, Admiral Nakamura stood with Ambassador Reyes on the observation deck of the Lunar Command Center, watching as the human fleet returned to its positions throughout the solar system. "Will they honor the agreement?" Nakamura asked. The Lena smiled faintly. "They will. Fear is a powerful motivator, but respect lasts longer. They've seen what we can do. Now they'll listen when we talk of peace. And if they don't?" She turned to look at the stars. Countless worlds that humanity had once approached with open hands, now viewing them with wary respect. "Then we'll remind them again why, throughout our bloody history on Earth, the most dangerous predator was never the one that roared the loudest, but the one that waited patiently in the shadows, watching and learning, before it struck." Nakamura nodded. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that. We've shown them our teeth. Now let's show them why we preferred to smile." Earth's ships resumed their patrols, their weapons no longer hidden, a silent reminder that humanity's peace had always been a choice, and one the galaxy would now respect.